Hello, everybody. Welcome to Standard Definition, the Retro Nostalgia Podcast here on the Boss Rush Network. I am your host, Corey Dirrig, and alongside me to talk about our first topic ever on this reimagining of Standard Definition, we'll say. So our previous episodes, you can go listen. It's not the same show, so whatever. Joining me to talk about our first ever topic, Ghostbusters, is none other than Ghostbusters superfan, the wise Wisconsinite, Mr. Jesse Douglas.
How's it going, everyone?
Also, Ghostbusters superfan, the mad pharmacist, Stephanie Klimov.
Who are you gonna call? Oh yeah, I'm excited.
Also in this fourth chair is the guy who watched it casually and made fun of me for not watching it.
I will make fun of you this entire episode, bro.
That's fine.
The joy.
The joy of EXP Cast. Stoy Jovic.
There it is.
Because he was on Arsenal X for 4 months and never corrected me. Because I'm a white American and pronounced it exactly how it's spelled.
You Western Caucasian people.
I know, gosh.
Whatever, it just is what it is.
You Midwestern corn-fed piece of garbage.
Oh, good. Well, I feel better now because every time Corey said Jovic, I'm like, I don't think you say the J, but what do I know?
Yeah.
You know,
I always try to tell people, like, you know, if you could say Stojanovic, you could say my name, because that's my name. Like, if you cut that in half, Stoyan Jovic. So.
Okay.
So. That's an exercise. So, Corey, you can go sit in the mirror after this episode and just say Stojanovic 20 times.
Probably not.
Slow it down, speed it up, slow it down, speed it up.
I have to set up our Patreon RSS feed after this because...
set up your Patreon.
I haven't done
and
that.
then say Stojanovic once every 30 seconds.
So, yeah. Anyways.
You'll get it.
Speaking of that...
No, anyways.
Are you
going to do it?
You shut your mouth.
Are you going to do it? Are you
going to
do it? No, I'm not going to shut my mouth until you say you're going to do it.
Okay, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this also. Ready? Here we go.
Fine.
So, Standard Definition has been here. We've tried 2 separate times to do the show. One was kind of like how we're going to do it now, and the second time was kind of not this, right? It kind of was what the Boss Rush podcast is now. But, anyways, if you're listening on January 9th, hello, hi, welcome to our Patreon early access episode. If you're listening on what's 14 days later, the 23rd of January, hi, welcome, you freeloaders. Just kidding. Thank you for listening to the show. Please don't unsubscribe. Hi, welcome.
Hello, future listener.
Yeah, future
Hello,
listener. Past listener? I don't know. Anyways, here's the deal. We're launching 2 new shows, right? And we're launching our Patreon. If you're here listening to this, you're on the 9th, you're already here, welcome. If not, also welcome. We have a Patreon if you want to support the Boss Rush Network directly. You can go to patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. You can get the show 2 weeks early for just $1. One Washington. Okay. I don't
or a gold coin. What's on those dollar coins?
Sacagawea.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 Sacagawea.
Yeah.
See, and that costs less than the coffee that you wait 20 minutes in line at the drive-thru at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Especially if some of those Starbucks like has no lobby pickup, but they still like say like, oh, put your order in advance, but we're still going to make you wait in that drive-thru line for 20 minutes. What is that?
Yeah. Well, you know.
Sorry.
I mean, look.
Sorry, I refuse to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So make your own
Anyways, so just to kind of explain, this is the second episode, actually third early access episode that's going up. But just to kind of explain what we're doing with Patreon, we're not creating a paywall to have exclusive content right now, right? We just have it to allow you to have some of our shows early and support Boss Rush Network directly if you really want to. If not, it's no big deal. You can subscribe on free feeds. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can watch on our website. This is just a way for you to get the show early and support us directly if you would like to. All the money is going right back into making our content better, making us stronger, and, you know, potentially providing new content in the future. So we're launching...
a lot of the different... Sorry, I shouldn't be talking when you're doing housekeeping.
Go. It's not really housekeeping. yet.
Oh,
But
okay.
anyways.
I was only going to say when we looked at when I looked at the tiers that we'll be offering, a lot of it involves, our Patreons, like, giving us feedback to make the show better. So I was going to, you can get involved.
Yeah.
Be part of our show by asking questions and providing feedback. Okay, I'll shut up.
Yeah, and for standard definition in particular, what we're going to allow patrons to do is vote on a monthly topic. So one of the episodes, so if you vote on a topic in January, the first topic in February, maybe the second, so we have time to watch or play said item. The second topic in February will be the voted topic from January. So, yeah, little incentive there. If you would like to hit that $3 community interaction tier, that'd be helpful as well. But if not, you just want to listen, you just want to chillax, subscribe where you feel. Anyways.
Thank you.
Yeah, what Stoy said. Sorry, I was going to sneeze, and then I had to cough, and neither really came out.
That's the worst.
Yeah, performance issues, am I right? That's why Stoy had that big white box he was showing us during the pre-show. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Revolutionizing.
Now I got to put for not for kids on the episode now.
Whatever. I didn't say it out.
Yeah. They got to learn eventually.
It's fair.
I know exactly.
Yeah. So this is how the housekeeping
Don't go down that rabbit hole, kids.
This is how the housekeeping is going to go for this show. Okay. This is Standard Definition, the Retro Nostalgia podcast here on the Boss Rush Network, where each and every Sunday we come together with our friends from around the internet to talk about games, movies, shows, and other topics that make us nostalgic. You can support us and get the show 2 weeks early by heading over to Patreon, patreon.com/Boss Rush Network, or subscribe on free feeds. Just search for Standard Definition, or you can search for Boss Rush Network. And we now have a channel on iTunes where all of our shows show up when you just type in Boss Rush Network. It's really nice. It's very nice. Nice little banner. All the shows ranked by how popular they are, I think. It's cool. It's neat. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. You can also catch all of our content on YouTube and on bossrush.net. The merch store is now open. When this goes live, you'll be able to buy your very own Standard Def t-shirt, complete with a little tube TV with little antennas. So,
Can you do that motion again?
Yep.
Yeah, now we're definitely not rated for kids. Way to go.
Why? Because I did a dance?
No.
That's
These are not
is.
imitating nipples,
Okay.
Stoy. It's not like
He
Hey, I wasn't
said
the
it.
first to
it's
notice.
not like the
I wasn't
fembots
first
from
to notice.
Austin Powers, okay, where they're like pew 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 pew.
I was not the first to notice. I just want that to be on record.
Hey, just because she's on drugs right now.
Sudafed. Let's let everyone know it's just Sudafed.
Yeah, that's what we want the kids to think. And she's also drinking her coffee. Air quotes.
As long as it's got whiskey in it.
It's fair. All right. Anyways, you'll be able to buy Standard Def and After Dark shirts real soon, if not already by the time you hear this live. Very excited. Very, very excited. I'm very excited you guys are here. You know why? Because our first topic ever on Standard Definition is Ghostbusters, the iconic movie from 1984. It was directed by Ivan Reitman and starred Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Sigourney Weaver, Rick Moranis, Ernie Hudson, and Annie Potts. The film was overall positively received. Robert Ebert gave it a 3.5 out of 4 stars, and Joseph Gelmas of Newsday calling it an adolescent fantasy, comparing it to the likes of Batman. Now remember, this was before Michael Keaton's Batman, which I'm sure we'll get to. So, Stoy, don't give me that look. I don't like this. I feel
No,
that.
that's why I was like, what Batman? Because if they were comparing it to, I mean, Michael Keaton's Batman didn't come out for a few years after this movie, but like,
I mean, it
I guess
had to
if
been
you
Adam
go back
West
to the Adam West Batman. Yeah.
I mean, when
Yeah.
this movie was being written and developed, I mean, the Adam West Batman stuff was ending in like the 70s, so it wasn't that far removed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was still watching it when I was a kid.
It's because
Yeah,
you're
and the-
old.
Yep.
Yeah. this movie made 300 million and hit number one for 13 months straight.
Yeah.
Ooh, all
Yeah.
right.
I was getting there too, but thanks for bringing that up, Jesse. The budget was $25 to $30 million. The box office run made a total of $295.2 million for a runtime of 105 minutes. A brisk 105, they say.
Man, you remember when movies were like 90 minutes long?
Gosh, you can get in and out and just be done. It was great. So, how I kind of want to do this, I don't really want to like run through every like plot point by plot point, right? Like I just kind of want to have a general conversation about the movie, talk about each of the characters and kind of their role, and kind of give, up top, give our general impressions of the film, and then kind of go through and just have a general conversation about the movie or, in the future game or TV show or whatever. General impressions of the film. I'll kind of go last, but I know you guys think this movie is spectacular. So I want to like get your guys' general impressions of the movie. Or if you like remember when you saw it, like kind of your memories of the movie and stuff. Because I just saw it for the first time, 4 nights ago. So I took extensive notes. So
Nice. Well, I'm eager to start if that's okay.
Yes.
But here's the thing. I was not even born when this movie came out, but
Neither
my
was I.
parents my parents really loved movies like this, and they I don't know when I saw it as a kid, but I just happened to sit in the room when they had it on. So my memory before rewatching it, very fuzzy, but it got me into the Ghostbusters cartoon, which happened later, and I was a big fan of the cartoon. I know this show's not about that, but anyway, and then when I saw the previews for Ghostbusters Afterlife, which recently came out this year, meaning 2021, I flipped out. So that's when I went back, got like an electronic copy of the original Ghostbusters, watched it again, and at first I was kind of hesitant that maybe I had my nostalgia glasses on, maybe it won't be as good as my memory has it, but you know what? Despite some 80s graphics, I still enjoyed it. I probably enjoyed it even more. Obviously, there are some very dated aspects that we'll get to later on that was very cringy, but I love Slimer. I love Egon Spengler. He's my favorite Ghostbuster. He is my Ghostbuster spirit animal.
Not surprised. I'm
not surprised either.
And so just overall impressions. I think it was a great movie for its time. I think it was pretty witty. Some of the back and forth, some stuff was really freaking hilarious. Now rewatching it as an adult, though again at the same times it's a victim again of its time. There are a couple of tropes and lack of character development that we might not see as well done today. But I just think that just tied very well to Afterlife, which I recently saw. So I'll stop there.
Yeah, and just like one more like thing that I took for notes and stuff that it's crazy. This movie, the main script for the movie was written by Dan Aykroyd, based off of family history. He in the 1920s. He had family that like did seances and were like super into trying to contact ghosts and all that. And so that's why he had started this. And then, but it got rewritten by, Ivan and Harold Ramis, redid the script and all that. And the movie recorded, sent out in 10 months.
Really? That I didn't know.
Yeah, 10 months to do everything, which is just crazy to me. So yeah, that's another thing. Like that's why, like, for me, like watching it again, it's really good especially when you think about that, like that they really like busted their butt to get this all done. And like, they had people that they wanted to do the the special effects, but they were working on doing Indiana Jones, at the time, and so they couldn't get. They were like ILM was the only people who did special effects like at that time, and then so some of the guys though had left ILM, started their own business, and that's how they got some of them to then do the stuff for Ghostbusters. So it just kind of like there's a whole bunch of things that happened to really fall in place to make this end up working. But yeah, like some of that stuff is from like if they have that Movies That Made Us, they talk about a lot of stuff in that. Like so, like definitely if you're a fan and you haven't seen that yet, definitely watch that because you get a really good behind the scenes perspective of the movie as well. But yeah, like going back and watching this, yeah, it just holds up for me. Like I just absolutely love it. I had a blast watching it again.
Who's your favorite Ghostbuster?
Well, I like Winston a lot, but I would have to say I like Ray quite a bit too because he's kind of like that. He's that in between, like he's super smart, but he kind of plays the comic side as well,
Yeah.
So like he's an in between, with Egon and Peter. Like he's kind of that perfect mixture of those two characters. So, but yeah, like but I mean, honestly, I love them. I love them all. Like.
Yeah.
Stoy, what about you?
Well, I was 3 years old when this came out in the theaters. So I didn't see it in the theaters, but I saw it on TV when I was like 6 or so. And yeah, I obviously, same as Steph, I watched the cartoons as well as a compendium. I was eagerly waiting for the second movie to come out, which I think came out in like 89 or 90 or something like that. And that I saw in the theater. I remember that. But no, I mean, it was such a cool concept because, like, as a kid, you think, like, there's ghosts in your closet, there's ghosts underneath your bed, there's ghosts, at that dark basement of the library and stuff like that. Or, like, so, kind of seeing that these fantasies coming to life on the screen, especially in a comical way, like Slimer being one of the most iconic ghosts, I think, in the movie period. Lends itself to like, oh man, okay, so this could be kind of funny too, as well as some of the serious ghosts, like man, that old lady in the basement of the library. That scared the hell out of me as a kid. I was like, oh, that turned quick.
It scared the hell out of me this time. I was not expecting that, like, at all.
I know, no kidding. Like, she's just like, grab her. That's your idea. Grab her.
Dude, that effect of that ghost face, like, was a real Indiana Jones kind of special effect. Like that slow motion claymation kind of like,
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that because like I took notes, like, and this is something I hadn't noticed before, but I'll talk about it later when we get to like one of the bigger like ghosts later, towards the end of the movie. But there's another situation that really reminded me of Indiana Jones as well. But
overall, continuing, I loved all the characters. They all had their little quirks and they all brought something different to the table. Although it's like Peter Venkman was my favorite Ghostbuster, not surprising, but he was practically the most useless out of all of them. Honestly, like he brought literally nothing to the table. Like, he was a parapsychologist with just a smart ass attitude, and kind of a, I guess looking back, kind of stuff with what you said with the tropes, kind of a piece of trash, but that's looking through the rearview mirror, like looking at him now. Whereas it's like, well, I don't know if that would have been such a stand-up thing, but it's meant for comedy, and I understand why And we could talk about, I think one particular scene, Steph, that you mentioned in the notes. We could talk about that later. But I really like that he always has, like, when things are always serious, he's the first one there with a joke. He's the first one there to crack a joke, even if it's like unintentional. It just comes out of him, and that's where I've always identified with that, because usually if anything is stressful or anything kind of happens that maybe spooks people, I'm always the first to crack a joke. Maybe it's inappropriate, but whatever. It's just how I am. But yeah, I really like that. Even like a lot of times they went and took a serious tone with a lot of the mythology and everything, that I really appreciated, because it wasn't just a comical, like, oh, here's some ghosts. Like, there was actually like scientific reasoning behind it, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, and that was, I think,
a whole lot of 5 stars.
Yeah, and I think again that was a whole lot of like Dan Aykroyd, like, like putting some of that more like the actual knowledge of stuff into it, and
yeah. This is a class 4 like phantom vapor, like, okay. It means nothing to me.
Yeah, that whole beginning scene though, with like with the did we
no,
but,
oh no, I'm here. I'm just getting a refill of water, and I'm not going to confuse people by walking with the camera.
Yeah, the whole library stuff is so iconic, but like, it's just such a great, and like you were talking about, like, one of my favorites is like even in the beginning when Egon is like, he's got the stethoscope up to that table and he's listening, and then Peter comes in and he's like,
yes,
boom.
Love it.
Yeah. Love that scene, like, so much. Yeah.
Yeah, like just those jokey moments like that where they just play so well off of each other.
Yeah.
It's just so good. Like, it's just so good at how well they play together. Like, yeah, it's
well, and you could tell, like, honestly, even with, obviously we didn't get Winston till like the last act of the movie, but even like seeing the banter between the guys, it's just they fit so well with each other. Like, you really have to have a good group of guys or good group of girls, whatever, in whatever movie or role that you're playing in, like, that can really mesh well, could really get along, and that chemistry really shows on the screen. So unless they're like there just to like do a job and whatever. So, because I always hear, like, apparently, like, there's still an Avengers chat group with a lot of the actors that they still maintain. They still maintain friends, and they still maintain conversations and talking with each other, which is really cool.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
Corey.
Yeah, I guess it's my turn now to anger everybody. No.
Oh no.
No. Okay, so like I said, kind of at the top of the show, this is the first time I've ever seen this movie, as will be a recurring theme on this show, probably once a month at least. I watch it, and the first thing I want to say is I can really see how people can attach themselves to this movie as they watched it growing up. Like, it really feels like a movie that, Jesse, we talk about Ninja Turtles all the time, and how that 1990 movie is like my favorite movie of all time. And it definitely has that appeal to it. Like, the characters wacky in each of their own way. The Janine, I think, is just like, she's just the best. She's my favorite character, I think, in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, what do you want?
Yeah. Yeah. And, it has the Sigourney Weaver is like the sexy lady that, Venkman is trying to, like, I don't know what he's doing in that scene, but I mean, it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I liked it from that perspective. I think it has a lot of charm. I think it has a lot of heart. You can see there's a lot of heart in the movie, especially from the actors, right? Has the weird kind of stereotypical 80s movie villain, the government guy, which is like, he just he talks with such purpose that it doesn't fit with the rest of the movie almost. Which I mean, I know is the point of his character, but it's just like he kind of threw everything off to a degree. But like, I can definitely see how if you watch this movie when you were little and it would fit in your, like, you know, if you only had like 5 or 6 VHS tapes, this would be one. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Jesus, cough will not go away. So watching it for the first time as an adult, I liked it. I didn't love it. I think that I think a lot of the special effects actually hold up quite well for an 80s movie. There's some green screening and some stop motion animation, especially with the gargoyle demon dog things that, you know, don't really hold up.
Yeah, watching that now, it looks a little rough.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
like you could tell the scenes where it's like, yeah, a stop motion thing that's like superimposed, and then this is an actual like model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole kind of top of the building portal to what's the villain's name? Zool's kind of
Zool.
yeah.
Gozer.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Gozer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Gozer. The portal there, like I that actually was like that green screening was actually pretty well done for an 80s movie, I feel like. You know, sometimes you get that kind of shade or glow around the actors when they're in front of a green screen from the 80s, but couldn't really see it. I think that's just because the background was so bright and it actually worked.
Well, and I think a lot of that actually, some of the effects were overlays.
Mhm.
Were just like, so it was like it was created on like a piece of, you know, like film essentially that lays over the top of the other film, the actual film.
Right, that makes sense.
So so then it's like it exists in that frame, even though it's not technically there.
Yeah, it's how some of the early Star Wars effects were made, I think, which is why some of those practical effects still hold up, I think. The the lady at the end definitely stole that out of what's his name? God, the musician. He's in the labyrinth. What's his name?
Oh, David Bowie.
David, yes, thank you.
David Bowie.
David Bowie's closet. Totally, just probably asked him to borrow something, right? Like totally.
Yeah, the
just felt like
Gozer.
that. Yeah, Gozer. Yeah.
Yeah. With the flat top and everything. Yeah.
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 I really like how Rick Moranis overplayed his character. Like he was just like it was so funny, and like he kept locking himself out of his apartment even when his party was going on. Like he just kept.
He played his part so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted more of him. You know, like I wanted more Rick Moranis because he's so.
Wait till
good.
you see 2, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just gonna say that.
So before we go any further, so for future episodes, what we're doing, Stoy, you and I are doing Indiana Jones, the whole series with my friend Matt, and we're gonna do that, and then I figure at some point we'll do all the Ghostbusters movies and rank them.
Okay.
Like at the end.
And
what was that?
The new.
What?
That.
I don't know.
Is that you, Steph?
I didn't make a noise.
Someone made that.
I think Stoy made a noise and he just.
Okay, maybe that was me.
I was gonna say though, really quick, the new one, Afterlife, finally got announced, like when it's coming out on video. It's February 1st of 2022. So
I'm buying it.
Yeah,
Cool.
And then the digital version will come out probably in January.
Yeah.
End of January.
Cool. So yeah, and then we're doing a big MCU rewatch. Mark and I and whoever else wants to join that we're gonna do a big MCU rewatch and rank the MCU movies.
Wow,
too.
that's a tall task.
That's a big.
It is, but it's not gonna be like all in a row, right? I mean, we'll have like, you know, maybe like an MCU movie every like 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and kind of. I don't want us to do like okay, we're doing all the Ghostbusters movies, right? And then we're doing all of the MCU, which I went back and forth thinking if we should do that, but like, I don't know. I feel like that's like a big ask to do that. So like, and we need, if somebody's off and I want a consistent cast for each group of movies, right? Like I want all of us to do the Ghostbusters movies, right? And I know, Steph, you wanted to do the Disney animated movies at some point. And like,
Let's talk about the Ghostbusters.
we are. I'm just explaining the show. Stoy, it's the first
This
episode.
is an episode about the Ghostbusters.
It is. I'm getting there. I'm trying to explain
right.
this brand new show that everybody's listening to for the first time, Stoy. Yeah. Sorry that you haven't done this in a while. Introduce a new show. Anyways, that's the point of the show. Stoy clearly wants to move on. He's probably got some soccer game to watch at 1 o'clock in the morning. He's got to take his pre-soccer match nap.
No, the games don't start till like 5 a.m. So,
anyways, back to Ghostbusters. I enjoyed it. I think it's movie definitely stuck in its time, especially Venkman is definitely a character that probably would not be allowed to exist today with cancel culture and all this other stuff going on. Like, it just seems like someone that would probably be rewritten into some other kind of character.
Yeah, I don't think anyone born in a generation after us could watch it and enjoy it. Well, I mean, I don't know, maybe, but I would just say it's highly unlikely. They might get into the Ghostbusters franchise with the reboot of Afterlife, because they literally borrowed all the amazing things from the original Ghostbusters, but made it a little bit more, PC in the modern times. Which that part's unfortunate, because even with that super uncomfortable scene in the beginning, I was still able to overlook it and just focus on the overall movie. It was still fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, also, like, I think if you're watching this, I think if you go and watching it now for the first time, you have to look at it in the time and place it was filmed, right? Because I think there's a gay joke in there at some point. I think there's, there's definitely jokes in there that wouldn't fly today. But overall, I thought it was funny. I definitely laughed out loud a few times. And, and the fact that this movie was rated PG, because PG-13 didn't exist yet.
Yeah, can we talk about that?
Yeah, PG.
well, PG-13 didn't come out until that
Temple
year.
of
Actually,
Doom was the first
Temple of
movie.
Doom. Yeah.
Yeah, because, I'm just going to say it now. I did not remember the whole ghost pulling down Dan Aykroyd's pants.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I saw the tiny
That wouldn't be
Yeah.
on a PG movie in this time.
To be fair, it was implied, and they didn't show anything other than the belt coming undone.
True.
But still,
and him making a face.
yeah.
Well, and it's, I mean, like it or not, it's, it's, if you believe in that kind of stuff, like, that's supposed to be a real, succubus is supposed to be a real thing. So
Yeah.
I mean,
There was obviously no context in the scene.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's one of those things. Once you see it, I mean, as a kid, I didn't understand it, because I was like,
Yeah.
how could that happen?
Yeah.
But because it's a ghost, and how does it work? But whatever. Kind of once you get older, you start to learn, the whole mythology of the succubus. It's like, okay, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's
But it's just comedy.
Yeah, I liked
Actually,
it.
speaking of comedy, real quick, did it go over my head the first time I saw it when Annie Potts was at the desk, and then Dr. Venkman just said hi and bye, and then Spengler just popped up from underneath the desk?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
see, that went over my head years ago, but then I saw it again. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like my head went there just because that's how our minds are trained. But then he just talked about fixing the cords and the wiring and stuff under her desk. I'm like, was he really just fixing the stuff under his desk? Because yeah, normally it would be implied that that's what he was doing, but also his personality in the movie suggests that he's not really like that. He's very
Yeah.
Right.
He's
like, I collect spores, mold, and fungus.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but then
Yeah,
later,
do for fun.
but then later on, they show them they clearly have some sort of relationship later on where she's leaning on his chest and he's like kind of hugging her, saying it's okay. Like, there's clearly some kind of relationship there, but at that point, I don't know if that like it clearly like I don't know. I don't know what to think there, but that's definitely the first place where my mind went because I mean, yeah.
As a kid, seeing it, that completely blew over my head.
Yeah.
You know, the older I got, the more times I saw it, and I was like, oh yeah, I could see how that would make you kind of go, aha, ha, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that, you know, like that stuff still goes on. Like there's a lot of, you know, cartoons and things like that have things that adults will kind of be like, at, but kids just, you know, completely go over their head.
Well, yeah, it still pops into even modern day cartoons. Well, they'll throw an adult joke here and there into these cartoons for kids where it's like it goes over the kids' heads, but like, you know, your parents are laughing at it because it's like, haha.
Yeah, a lot of Pixar films have that in it.
Yeah.
Especially Cars, man. There's so many dirty jokes in Cars. It's just
yeah.
So do we want to talk about the characters first, or do we want to kind of talk about our favorite moments at all first? Like, I kind of want to like talk about each of the characters because there's like 6 or 7 main characters in this movie that like the story kind of revolves around. So Bill Murray plays Peter Venkman. Like Stoy said, he's kind of like a character that projects that he serves a purpose, but really doesn't serve any purpose. He clearly just is like he wants to sleep with all the girls that are around every time he sees. He's clearly the guy that's like, I'm going to sleep with the pretty girl in this movie, and I don't know. He's definitely like he might be one of my least favorite characters in this movie, to be honest. Like I can definitely think of like 3 or 4 more characters that I liked more than him. And I kind of agree with Stoy that he kind of doesn't really serve a purpose on the team. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't like believe in what they're doing really. Like, you know, he kind of gets dragged along by Dan Aykroyd's character. Like, he just kind of seems like, you know, he's in it for a different reason. And then when they get fired, like he kind of has to do it.
Yeah, and even then, when he got fired from his job. Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
No, it was really quick. Like even when they got fired from the job, he really seemed like he didn't give 2 shits about anything, which I guess is supposed to be what a cool character does. But it also makes me not care too much about him.
Yeah.
He just kind of seems like he's in it for the attention of possibly, you know, like that being popular and being, you know, the center of attention, and he's always got to, you know, the one who's got to talk to the news reporters and stuff about what they're doing, even though he's clueless to, you know, like the actual technical part of what they're doing. And yeah, he's just kind of like the mascot or the face of it, you know, and, you know, like he doesn't actually know what he's doing. He just kind of stumbles his way through everything.
I always say, like, you know, the more I saw Bill Murray, you know, in the future, the more I started to see like how he's just playing himself. Because Bill Murray as a person and Bill Murray and other movies that came out after that, most movies that came out after that, he kind of had that same persona of just like, yeah, being the center of attention, maybe playing a little bit stupid and always cracking a joke at probably the most inappropriate times. But so, you know, you could look at it that way to say, okay, well, it's just Bill Murray playing Bill Murray, just obviously a different name. But yeah, I mean, admittedly, I think he's just along for the ride, you know, in this. He was the one that kind of really convinced Ray to invest in the Ghostbusters, basically, by making him sell his family home. So he was, you know, once they got fired from the university, it was like, well, this is our next best thing. This is our next big thing that we're a part of, and he was the cheerleader of the group. So I guess he was the one that really kind of convinced Ray and Egon that this is a worthwhile endeavor. You know, Egon is the science guy, where he was like, look at all these numbers and look at all these spectral analysis, whatever things that I'm building, and like, Ray is just like the kind of like, well, I don't know, guys. I don't know. And Peter's like, let's go. Let's do it. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Sell your house. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah, and then like that whole scene where they're looking for a place to have it. I love that when they're at the
Ray's like,
the
check out this
firehouse.
pole.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And Egon's like, yeah,
I'm gonna go get my
this
stuff.
is like, this would be like one of the worst things possible to buy this place. And then yeah, Ray's just like, he's like, when can we move in? You know, like,
I'm gonna go
it's
get my
great.
stuff.
He was like a kid on Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like those. I like those little breaks in character where, like, you know, there's moments where like Ray acts like a child. There's moments where like Egon is like completely clueless to what's going on. Like, you know, anytime you know, Janine like flirts with him and he's just like, you know. And then like Peter has his moments too where he's like, okay, something's not right, you know, or like he's really invested in what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely has his moments. I feel like, and you know, and we'll talk about this more in the future, but definitely in the second movie, like Peter definitely has a lot more, like, you know, serious moments or moments where he's, you know, playing a bigger part of something. But yeah, like it. Yeah, the first movie, you know, he's got some moments, but but it's few and far in between.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely some growth in this movie, right? Or especially towards the end where he kind of like, he wants to be with Sigourney Weaver's character, but like he's still like when he first meets her, he's still that like crappy guy that was hitting on the college girl at the beginning, but then like, you know, towards the end, like he wants to be with her, and then when she turns into a, you know, Zool or whatever, like he like makes, I mean, like Stoy said, he cracks a whole bunch of like jokes about her like whatever, and it's and then at the end, like he clearly is sad that she's gone, but then like he gets excited when he finds her stuck in the statue or the rubble or whatever it is, you know, the burnt crispy dog thing.
Well,
crispy dogs. Everybody likes a good crispy dog.
Well, and I
break
think,
open by karate chopping it.
Yeah.
Could you? That's good. But
get a little mustard on that guy.
I think one of the things too, like having watched a lot of 80s movies and stuff like that, and you know, like, I mean, you have like all the crazy movies from the 80s. Like there are moments in this movie, but they're pretty tame compared to a lot of the stuff that, like, even just the whole, you know, like you were talking about where she gets possessed and stuff like that, and she, you know, and she's making moves on him and wanting to do stuff with him, but he kind of is like, okay, well, you're clearly
not right here.
Clearly you're possessed. I cannot, you know, like I can't cross that right now, because it just, you know, like that moment was, it's, you know, like a lot of movies I don't think would have played that the same way during that time.
Well, like that scene where like he knocks on her door and she's first possessed, and like he like gives her the wrong answer and she shuts the door in his face, and so he resets it by knocking on the door again, and it answers differently and she lets him in.
Are you the key master? Yes.
yes I am.
Well, and I love when Sigourney Weaver, Dana, when that moment though, when he is hardcore hitting on her and stuff, and she just keeps on, like, you know, and like pushes him out and is just like, yeah, okay, whatever. You know, like I love that whole part though, of just her kind of being like, whatever, like, you're such a loser.
Yeah.
I think they did a great job casting Sigourney Weaver for that character, and I really loved how she was her own person. Oh,
do we just want to move on to Sigourney Weaver then? Do we just want to talk about Dana Barrett, played by Sigourney Weaver?
Yeah.
Sorry, Steffi, I didn't want to cut you off, but if we're moving in that direction, I just kind of wanted to transition.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
She lives in a nice, fancy place. and
In New
she
York, no
has
less.
Yeah.
in New York, and I think it was like a penthouse, right? Like a corner penthouse.
Yeah.
And she first sees a vision or these ghosts in her fridge.
And then the eggs start cooking on her countertop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. The
But
sorry. I thought somebody was going to keep talking. Sorry, I just was doing the egg thing. This was my motion for cooking eggs on the countertop. I don't know what this is. What do I do with my hands?
that whole scene is, like the whole fridge scene is pretty sweet, like for that time. Like I just remember like like when I had watched this movie for the first time, that was so cool. Like seeing that whole world inside of the fridge, and then you close it and then open it later and it's not there.
Yeah, that effect was really good. Like that's where I was like, okay, these effects are like, they really hold up. They're really good, I mean, they're not like 2021 good, obviously, but they're good. They're great effects,
Well, yeah, because they had to think outside the box a bit. Like it was like a bunch of guys like, hey, we want eggs to pop out of this egg container and cook on the counter. How do we do that? So it's like they tried to, I mean, they had to brainstorm, and yeah, like you said, there wasn't a lot of special effects companies at the time, so they really had to kind of, get their brains on the table to really figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
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 and all the while, she has to fend off two different guys, right? Because she has to fend off Louis Tully, Rick Moranis' character.
That's not hard though, right? I mean, she's just like being nice to the nerdy guy who lives down the hallway, right? She's just like, okay, Louis,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, you wanna come in for a cup of coffee? It's okay, I'm just right down the hall.
Oh, it's okay.
You want to come to my party? It's for clients, I would invite friends, but I want to show my clients how important they are. But you're allowed to come too if you want.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good impression.
Thanks.
Poor Louis Tully.
I've been practicing.
Yeah. Her character though is like you said though, Stephanie. She's just so like she was the perfect person to play that character.
Yeah, definitely. I could definitely see her being like an '80s crush from this movie too. I mean, I just kind of felt that way. I had the same like kind of feeling like when I was watching Ninja Turtles and April would show up, and I was like, yeah, I get it. I get it. Perfect for like the 13 or 14-year-old boys who are watching this movie.
Yeah, I mean, she really rocked that red dress, man.
I know.
When she became Zool, hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like she was like that was the thing about her character and the way they wrote her is that she had all this attention. There was like the other guy in the orchestra that she played for, because I think her job was actually in the orchestra, and there was like this other guy in the mix too that she was just talking to and just having friendly relations with, but she's just like, I'm out here just kind of just whatever, like just living her life, trying to obviously not live in an apartment that's haunted by ghosts, and just trying to do the best she can with working in the orchestra. Then obviously just she's just out here doing Dana Barrett stuff.
Yeah,
that's a terrible way of explaining it, but you get what I'm saying.
I understand. I picked up what you were putting down, Stoy.
Okay, thank you.
I get you.
Well, yes. I mean, it's Sigourney Weaver at the time, like in the '80s. I mean, she was a perfect. She fit the role perfectly. I couldn't imagine anyone else at the time doing it any better, especially since she rocked it in Alien and Aliens and during that same time.
Yeah, see, that's what I was trying to look up. I was like, what years did the Alien series come out in comparison to this? But I think the first one, let's see, it's 1979. Looks like. Yeah,
79 or 80 was Alien, and then Aliens came out sometime in the later 80s. I thought. I don't know.
Okay, Alien is 1979. All right.
It's crazy that movie's that old.
Right?
Oh. Oh yeah, that's right. I wrote. There's some of the jokes that I wrote down. and the one
You
of
don't
my
have them memorized?
No,
Disappointed.
I do remember them, but like word for word, I'm not great at remembering stuff, but I did like when Peter was over at her place that, like that second time, like checking everything, and he starts walking over by her bedroom, and and she's like, that's a bedroom, nothing ever happened in there, and Peter's like, that's a shame.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, there's like I liked, like even though like a lot of the stuff he was doing was inappropriate, like it just felt like with her, like just being such a like just an awesome like woman character, that it just is just fun seeing him squirm, because it's like he's like that character that's not used to being rejected, or like not be like, and it's that kind of mix.
Not going after a woman like Sigourney Weaver. Sigourney
Yeah.
Weaver is
Well,
yeah.
it's a big difference between, when he was kind of on the hunt for that college student in the beginning who was, I hate to say it, kind of like a dingbat.
Yeah.
And, oh yeah, you think I have the gift? Okay, I'll have dinner with you. And Sigourney Weaver is just, she holds her own. Like, I'm not saying this is like a super feminist movie, because it's not.
Yeah.
But all things considering, like, I just loved it. It was very refreshing, actually.
Yeah.
She's my girl. I love her.
Yeah.
So I was trying to see if anybody else auditioned for the role. The only other person who auditioned was Julia Roberts.
Oh man, that would have been terrible.
Yeah, but Sigourney Weaver got the role because she came in and did her alien character for the role, and ended up getting it. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's the thing, is like the cast, like there was, in the beginning it was going to be, John Belushi and like the whole cast was basically going to be based around, Saturday Night Live, and changed. And...
So I have the auditions pulled up here just to go over it real quick. Peter Venkman could have been played by. It was written for John Belushi initially, but it was also offered to Michael Keaton, Chevy Chase, and Steve Guttenberg. And other actors considered for the role were Tom Hanks and Robin Williams.
Oh my God! If Robin Williams would have been in this movie,
that
would have been so amazing.
Spangler could have been played by. The role was also offered to Michael Keaton, but he had signed on to do Batman in this early, and
I think that was a good choice.
Yeah,
that was a good choice.
Christopher Walken, John Lithgow, Christopher Lloyd, and Jeff Goldblum, all for Egon.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Jeff
that would have.
Winston. Sorry, go ahead, Jesse.
I was gonna say, like, I maybe, like, I don't know, like some of those people maybe could have pulled that character off, but yeah, I think the thing is too, like just, like the guy, who ends up playing Egon, he also, rewrote the so I mean a lot of stuff like would not have been as good as it is had,
So Winston Zeta Moore could have been played by Eddie Murphy. That's the only person listed here who they thought about. This one is the most interesting. Louis Tully could have been played by John Candy.
What?
Yeah. The role was offered and actually written for John Candy, but turned it down. And then Reitman shared the script with Rick Moranis and accepted it hours later.
John Candy, I think that could have worked. That could have worked. I don't know who would have done it better. I think, let's admit, Louis Tully looks a little pathetic.
Yeah.
He's kind of a pathetic human being that's like trying to look for approval from a lot of people.
Yeah.
and he wants to be validated. He wants to be noticed,
Mhm.
and he's just like a short little guy that's just like trying to get noticed, whatever. So I think he played that role very well and just trying to seek attention. I don't think John Candy would have pulled that same off. John Candy would have come in to be the whole planes, trains, and automobiles type of guy, I think.
Mhm.
That
Where
or I
he
was thinking maybe Uncle Buck even.
No. Uncle Buck is kind of a more. I guess he would have, like, if it was an Uncle Buck type character, I think he would have been Peter Venkman.
Mhm.
Honestly,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, yeah, because like, I mean, Louis Tully is the role of just like that kind of pathetic little neighbor, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
John Candy could have done it. I'm not saying he couldn't, you know.
Yeah.
And Rick Moranis did an awesome job, but
Yeah.
John
Yeah.
Candy, I think, could have pulled it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, either way, both of them are legends.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
For sure.
All right, so let's get back to these characters. Dan Aykroyd played Ray Stantz, who is kind of the over the top kind of
Stance.
That's what I said.
Stans.
That's what I said.
Stans.
Stance.
Okay.
Am I not saying it right?
No, you're fine. Keep going.
I feel like he's going to correct me in April when we do Ghostbusters.
Well, you did say Winston Zeddemore, and I kept quiet during that.
What is it?
Zedmore.
No, it's not. There's an E in there.
Winston Zedmore.
Whatever. He was in the
The
movie
E
for
is
like
silent.
5 minutes.
The E is silent.
Sorry, guys. Jeez. Anyways,
Anyway,
Ray is kind of the over the top true believer and wants to do like just go in kind of guns blazing, if you will, to do this. And I don't know. Dan Aykroyd is I think he's great in this role. I think he kind of is like, I think Stoy, I think you said the middleman in this, where he kind of plays the in between guy from Venkman and Egon. He's kind of like that middle slot guy.
yeah, wasn't he also the one that brought in the car to turn into Ecto 1?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's basically their mechanic too, so he's basically fixed the whole thing up. He's like, it needs new shocks, brakes, pads, rotors, all this other stuff, whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I can't remember, like, because I used to watch the cartoon a lot. I think, didn't Winston eventually end up being more of that character who is like really good at like mechanical stuff? Maybe I'm wrong, but
I don't remember much of the cartoon.
I have the whole thing. I have the whole series, but yeah, I don't know. I want to say that he kind of does a lot of that stuff later too, but I could be wrong. But yeah, that
I like his character. I think he does a great job. I don't really know what else to say that we haven't already said, right? So
I think he's a well-rounded, lovable character.
mm-hmm.
yeah. And then Harold Ramis plays Egon Spengler, which he's the best Ghostbuster in my opinion. He's his over the top straightness of playing this character is so just on point and just ridiculous that it just works. I don't know if this would work in another situation, but the way he plays him in this movie in particular, it just works. It works really well, right? And the way he just talks to everybody, or like the scene in the library where he's like under the table checking for stuff, and then they come in and bang on the table and knock the book down, and he doesn't notice until he turns around. It's pretty funny. Like, he just takes everything way too seriously, and it's just hilarious.
Yeah, even one of the things he said, he admitted, like, I'm always serious.
Yeah. Peter was like, Egon, are you serious about catching ghosts? And Egon's like, yeah, I'm always serious.
Another little tidbit that I loved about him, he loves sweets. I think that there's a scene where Dr. Venkman offers him a Twinkie because he says he earned it or something. Was it? It's a Twinkie.
Yeah, it's a Twinkie because they're talking about something that's the size of 2,000 Twinkies or something.
Yeah.
The containment unit. He was talking about how
The cream filling is all the ghosts. Yeah.
and that it's getting like over full or whatever, and that it would like it would explode, and and then like and then I love that later on Winston, like when Peter comes in, Winston's like, hey, tell him about the Twinkie.
What is this about a Twinkie?
I also like the part where they're like halfway through catching their first like ghosts or whatever, and he's like, there's one very important information I forgot to share with you. Never cross the streams. And he's like dead serious about it.
Yeah.
Or even like when he's like trying to trying to wrangle in Slimer, and like this part I always laughed at as a kid because like Ray's like, okay, don't look at the trap, and Egon's like, I looked at the trap.
Yep.
I looked at the trap.
Yeah.
And that was great. Like like when it brings me back to watching Saturday Night Live, but there are a couple of moments where as Egon, you see him try not to laugh, like after he delivers a line or whatever, because he's trying so hard to be that serious, straight-faced person. But like every once in a while, you can see that he's kind of got a smirk on his face, or like trying to kind of hold back a smile, a laugh.
Yeah.
It's
he's great. I love that character. Moving on, I guess. Rick Moranis plays Louis Tully. We kind of talked about him a lot already. I wish, like I said, I wish he had a bigger role in this movie, but the scenes he was in, he kind of stole the show, I feel like. Especially the hallway scenes, and then especially after he gets possessed, or like when he runs up to that restaurant and he's like banging on the window to let him in, and like nobody's paying attention to him at all.
Yep.
That's why he's been typecasted. No one cares about Louis Tully. He's a little pathetic human being.
Yeah.
Poor Louis.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Or when during the party, right before that, he's like, "Who brought the dog in?" And then he opens it and he sees the demon dog thing.
Yeah.
And he just starts running. Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah, his character. Yeah, he's definitely a fun character.
And just after he gets possessed, because he's the keymaster, right?
Yeah.
So he's the gatekeeper.
I'm the keymaster. Are you the gatekeeper?
And when they finally meet up, I love how Sigourney Weaver dips him in a kiss.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Annie Potts plays Janine, the lovable secretary. She's the best character in this entire movie. God, she's so good. And just
so dry.
Yeah, it's dry. The accent is so over the top, but it works, right? And every time she answers the phone, like Stoy, we were talking about it earlier, where she's like, "Ghostbusters, what do you want?" And she was just like, she had just been fighting with Venkman about like a break or like pay raise or getting help in or whatever, and she's like, "We got a big one." And she starts like ringing the bell or whatever, and everybody slides down the. It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
That was the first call when she's leaving for work, and she's like, answering the phone, and she's like, "What? You have something? Oh my god!"
Yeah, like I love her character in the cartoons too. Like she, she's obviously, because of it being a TV show, there's a lot more of her in there.
Yeah.
But like that character rings very true in the cartoon, and like keeps that consistency of that character really well.
Yeah, she's great. And then where did my notes go? They're there. Ernie Hudson plays Winston Zedmore. He's applying for a job. The interaction between him and Janine was really good, where she's like, she's listing off all the things that he needs to believe in to have this job. He's like, if the pay is good, I'll just believe in whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's a steady paycheck involved, I'll believe in anything you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was a great line. I wish he was in it more too, which I guess he's in the second one more. I'm assuming a lot more.
A little more.
Yeah.
Well, he was obviously, in this movie, he comes in at the last
half
or last third or whatever, but like obviously he's Yeah, I mean, he's right in the beginning
Yeah.
of the second movie. So
Yeah. And when they all get kind of, arrested, or they go to the mayor's office or whatever, and they're all in trouble, he's like, man, I've only been with them for a couple weeks. I don't have anything to do with this.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've seen shit that'll make your face turn white.
White. Yep.
Yeah, I loved that joke.
Or what the best line of the whole movie is basically at the end when they get zapped by Gozer the first time, and he's like, was that him? Yeah, that was him. Where it's like, Ray, next time someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he is definitely like I'm like you said, I just wish he was in it more, but yeah, it's
But yeah, I mean, even still, like every scene he was in, he steal the show with his, he's learning the business as much because he's not a scientist. He doesn't really know. He's just a worker bee, whatever. Just
And then he's kind of like the default driver too.
Yep.
But you're right. He does still kind of steal the scene whenever he is in it. I just think it has to do with like his charisma. He's a very charismatic character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he brings up the whole his character is kind of the religious one who looks at things from that perspective, and believes obviously in everything that they're doing, but he's looking at it from that religious perspective, where the other guys are kind of looking at it from a scientific perspective.
Yeah, there was that particular scene. It was like kind of like the most serious scene of the movie, where it was him and Ray that was driving at night or something.
Yeah.
And it was like this really serious conversation that they had, and I remember as a kid that always brought it down because I'm like, oh man, it's like a serious conversation. But like the older I got, it was the same thing. The more I really appreciated that scene because it brings a little bit of that realism back to where it's like, this isn't like batshit crazy science fiction. This is like, you could kind of believe it almost.
Yeah.
Is that where, Corey, you're the one who saw it like most recently? Was that where they were talking about Revelations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, bringing the end of days, and he's like, maybe haven't you ever thought that maybe this is a sign that that this is the end of days kind of thing.
And I think it was Ray that quoted the Revelation scripture.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a really good sequence. I remember that. So,
and then last but not least, kind of I guess you would say like the secondary villain, although he's not really a villain, he's just doing his government job, is William Atherton plays Walter Peck, the guy, the EPA agent, the environmental protection agent guy, and he just is like trying to do his job, but also like being a real dick about it.
Yeah.
Speaking of dickness.
Yeah.
Here. Is this true? Yes, it's true. He has no dick.
Yeah.
Or what Mr. Pecker is saying, that's Peck.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of great jokes at his expense.
Yeah. Well, he plays a raging douche so well.
Yeah.
Obviously William Atherton was the douchey reporter in Die Hard that got his lights punched out. And even in the second one, he was the same douchey reporter. But it's like the actor like plays that role so well that it's like, okay, how could we get this guy to be hated by literally everybody watching this movie? And sure enough, he goes downstairs and shuts off the containment system, and
yeah.
Yeah.
And as much as he could be over the top, like I feel like it's still believable because I feel like a lot of government, not all of them, but a lot of government officials always think that they know everything that they're doing, and they don't care about what experts have to say, whether or not something's safe or not. They're like, this is against the rules, shut it down. Like it's, I laugh because that's applicable to modern day, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and honestly, he did come from a valid perspective of, what impact is this having on our environment? This containment system. Like, are you using, any sort of like illegal chemicals to store these? Are you damaging the environment in New York City or whatever? And he was the one that obviously started going off by saying by spouting lies, like the Ghostbusters are actually pumping this gas into the city and make people, and obviously this evidence was unfounded, but like, making people hallucinate to think that there's ghosts in the city. So I think that's where he was coming from, that he was such a huge denier of everything that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he like pulled the lever or he made the worker guy like pull the lever, and like it made all the ghosts escape, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like that whole scene was like, and everybody's just running out of the building like as fast as they can. Also, it's funny when like people try to over exaggerate running out of a building when it's that whole scene was really funny, I thought.
I like when the Ghostbusters are just kind of like making gestures at each other like silently, just like let's get out of here, guys. That they all are scurrying away, and those guys are still just kind of standing there, and then they see them, then they start to kind of run, and then it's like, oh crap, we should probably get out of here too.
So I think this cast is great. I mean, we kind of listed off who could have played some of these characters, but like I don't think it would have worked as well. Obviously hindsight's 2020, and like you can always say, well, if these other actors would have played these characters, we would have never known this movie. But like, there's just something about their chemistry and the way that they work together, and it's just, I couldn't see anybody else playing these characters, even after only seeing this movie once, all the way through. And it's a good cast. I like it. I don't know. As we've been talking, I've kind of been warming up to the idea of like liking it more than I initially did. But let's just kind of talk about the favorite moments of the movie. Stephanie, you made a face. You go first then.
Oh, there's so many, but I guess I'll maybe talk about one or two because we might have the same thing. The first one I'll just say quickly. It happens in the middle of the movie when things are picking up. It's the montage when they're playing the actual Ghostbusters theme song, and they're just driving around with that siren, and they're getting more and more phone calls. I mean, that's just my jam. Like, it made me like so happy and giddy on the inside. I'm like, why don't we have more montages these days? I miss those.
Yeah, the montage was such an 80s thing.
Yeah.
It really is. And it was a banging song. My son loves Ghostbusters. He asked me to play that Ghostbusters song like once a week. So that's that. But my other like favorite moment was like catching Slimer like that at the hotel. Was it a hotel?
In. Yeah.
Yes. It's gone. And then creeping through the hallways and just seeing that, I don't know what kind of technology, quote unquote, they use, but Slimer's like chugging down hot dogs, and how they were absolutely destroyed the dining hall. They just absolutely just destroyed it, and they walked out like, all right, we took care of it.
Okay, we kicked its ass.
Yeah,
there was that scene where Peter Venkman pulled the sheets.
Oh yeah,
that was completely improvised.
Yeah,
that was not part of the script, but they were doing the scene, and that literal part where he was like, "Oh, I always wanted to do this." That was him, like literally, like
always wanting to do.
He always wanted to do it. Yeah, and at the end, the flowers are still standing. So I mean that's one of those lines I still repeat. Like if I ever like try to remove something from a table or whatever, that's a line that I still go back to this day.
Nice.
Sometimes
a lot of good quotes.
Yeah, sometimes the improvised scenes are some of the best scenes in movies.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of movies where they like there's improvised scenes or dialogue and it's always the best dialogue.
Yeah.
Which
like in Dumb and Dumber with the big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
Yep, I know what you are talking about.
Yep.
Uh-oh. Looks like we'll need to watch that too.
Yeah.
Oh, we better.
It's on the list.
All right. Who else got a favorite moment?
Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, obviously, like we've talked about so many of them, but like kind of like along the lines of what you said, Stephanie. Like I like when when you get to that point of where like the city is excited to see them, and and like everyone's like kind of cheering them on, and they're just kind of like just enjoying actually being able to do what they set out to do and stuff like that.
That scene, that song in that scene where they're driving up to the apartment building, and dude, that song is so banging. Like, it is so banging.
Trying to think, do you remember what song is it?
It wasn't like an actual like song, but it was like a It was like a bebop, like.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Sounds just like it. Good job, Stoy.
Well, and so like another like, and this is kind of a different thing, but like I just love the whole scene of where we meet the Marshmallow Man, like the whole like Gozer is like, okay, well like whatever. I'll take the form of whatever you want, and everyone's like, don't clear your minds, don't think of anything, don't think of any, don't think of, and then all of a sudden like Ray's just kind of like got this look on his face, and then,
I was trying to think of something very harmless from my childhood.
Yeah,
and that was the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah, and it is just so funny that he basically was a kaiju, a Marshmallow Man kaiju. Yeah. And then like I was talking about earlier, like when they roast him, that whole face melting part reminds me of Indiana Jones when that guy's face melts. They kind of had a little bit of that look to Marshmallow Man when they roast him, because they do that scene where like they cut like right up close to his face, and you see like everything melting down his face.
Yeah, that was a sad part.
Do we know why Gozer did that? Like,
well, I was gonna go and talk about the mythology of Gozer, because I did a deep dive of it years and years ago. But
ooh, okay,
yeah,
keep going, Jesse.
Well, that's for me. Like, I was basically my stuff that I was bringing up. Like I said, I mean, like the Slimer parts and all that, like we've kind of talked about, like I loved those, and again, it's like just some little backstory on that. Like, it is so funny because so they wanted Slimer to be modeled after John Belushi from Animal House, essentially, like that that character, and
oh yeah,
they had the guy had spent like so many days working on models of how they wanted Slimer to look, and then here they come along, oh, by the way, I want him to look like John Belushi, and he's like, we told him, yeah, but no, he didn't make him look like him at all. He told them that he did, and they were like, oh, it's perfect. but he didn't actually really change anything. He just went with the one that he liked the most anyways. So, but that whole the Slimer stuff.
When did John Belushi died after this movie was filmed, or was it before?
No, he died when Dan Aykroyd was writing the script already.
Okay, all right.
Like, so like quite a while before they actually made this movie, I think it was.
Yeah, it was 2 years. I just looked it up. March 5th, 1982, and this movie came out in July of 1984.
Yeah. So yeah, like that, but Slimer was kind of gonna be that homage to Dan Aykroyd, or to John Belushi's character.
Why? So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but how did Slimer become like the face of Ghostbusters? Like, how did he, like, is it just because he was like the first ghost that they caught, or like
the
merchandising?
The cartoon essentially. Like, honestly, most of the popularity of like Slimer comes from the cartoon, because eventually it was Slimer and the real Ghostbusters. Like, and like that's another thing too we could get into, with the whole naming of it, and the cartoon that was like basically like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon that existed that was called Ghostbusters,
Right, yeah.
before this, and they didn't even get the okay to get that name until literally the last second of when they were getting ready to finalize the movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Because
Well,
there's
they didn't call him Slimer in the movie. I mean, the only reference they made to it was where Peter, obviously, Ray came up and he was like, "What happened?" He slimed me.
yeah,
That's great. Actual physical contact.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering because like he did because I mean every time I think of Ghostbusters, I think of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and I think of Slimer, right? And and after watching this movie, I was like, why is Slimer such a big deal? And I thought maybe and then I was like, well, I guess it may have. He's kind of like an easy character to market, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you got this big merchandising thing, because like when this movie came out, Ghostbusters toys were all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So he's an easily marketable ghost to kids. You can't market Gozer to kids. Not even the Zool, dragon gargoyle things. Like those are kind of scary. So like Slimer, something cute, and like, oh, he eats hot dogs. Well, how cute, So like, yeah, you market that to the kids.
Did they have a toy where you push down on his tail and he just throws hot dogs? Is there a toy like that?
I don't think so.
No, just this one where his eyes pop out.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, this is the one where he actually had his own proton pack that he could wear, but like I think I think part of why he ended up being popular is like the whole ectoplasm stuff, like they could sell the whole slime stuff, and
fair, yeah,
because at that time like like the slime and all that stuff started being popular. The turtles, they had the ooze that,
right,
that was popular, and
yeah.
Because like I have the fire station for the characters, and like the top literally was open, so you could drip the slime through the top of the tower and make it fall inside and stuff like that. So,
Gotcha. Anybody else have any like real favorite moments? Because like I mean, I kind of want to talk about the last scene with Marshmallow Man because like that's kind of the scene that everybody kind of thinks of when they think of Ghostbusters 2 is like the Marshmallow Man, the giant Marshmallow Man building high marshmallow chasing, And like I was like, okay, well, this is a dumb 80s movie, whatever. It's probably just real stupid. It was really well done. I was shocked at like how well his scale and like how they kind of used the scale of him walking through like a fake city and mirroring it under a real city and everybody running away from him. Like it was really well done. I was shocked at how well done that was done. That was done in the 80s. Like, I don't know. It was really well done.
They definitely conveyed the size very well.
Yeah. Yeah. And like when he rounds the corner and everybody's like parking their cars in the middle of the city and getting out, and he rounds the corner and he's just this huge towering white puff, it was cool because like growing up, I watched stuff like Power Rangers, and obviously like Power Rangers, you have the big Zords fighting the monsters, and like that stuff is done terribly. And I know a lot of that is the Sentai footage, right, that they bring over to mirror with the American footage, but like, and I know that's just kind of like part of the appeal is that it's kind of poorly done, but like I don't know, as someone who appreciates special effects and how they're done, I was quite shocked and actually excited to see that it was done really well. And then like at the end when they're like, I said don't cross the streams.
Yeah.
We need to cross the streams. Are we gonna die? Yes, there's a high probability that we will die.
It's just such a good movie.
All right, so I guess we can kind of talk about stuff that we didn't really care for in the movie too. Stephanie, you have some stuff in the notes if you want to kick it off.
Yeah, sure. And yeah, I didn't mean, if you didn't mind, I put the notes in because, again, brain fog. I didn't want to forget. Well, it's cliche, right? I just really did not find any enjoyment watching, the introduction to Peter Venkman's character in the electroshock when there was a male student, a female student trying to guess the card that he's holding up. I think even if the guy, the college kid, the college boy was right, he still zapped him. And whether the girl was right or wrong, he never zapped her.
Yeah.
And he was just super creepy. And I feel bad because I love Bill Murray as an actor, but just super creepy. I just could not handle that. Of all the creepy things he did the entire movie, that was the creepiest of the creepiest. And a side note, I won't spoil it, Stoy, but he does get his comeuppance in Afterlife in one of the end cred scenes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene was really kind of like, especially for it being like one of the first scenes in the movie, it was really kind of cringy. I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And I'm like, okay, this was probably really funny in the 80s, right? Different time. It's Bill Murray in the 80s. This was probably, and obviously this was still super acceptable even up into the mid 2000s to have like this creepy kind of like womanizer character come on to young, stupid, quote unquote, stupid college girls. It's such a trope, right? But like, man, that was super hard to watch. And I was like excited when Dan Aykroyd came in and like ruined his moves. Like I was like, oh my God, thank God this is ending. Cause like, I was like, man, I hope that there's not a lot of this in the movie. And like, to be fair, the only other part that was like super creepy was when he like kept getting Sigourney Weaver to let him in. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep going. And he wouldn't leave, right? Like that was also pretty creepy, but it's yeah, it was cringy. It was cringy, but also I would just kind of like, okay, 80s movie, let's just push through it, right? There's a lot of that stuff with, especially like in the 70s also with like Animal House and movies like that, and it's just man, gosh, even like National Lampoon's Vacation, some of that stuff was creepy too. Like it's just like, oh my gosh, let's move along. Like if the scene was only like a minute or two, it wouldn't have been as bad. But this scene was like 5 or 6 minutes long. I was like, oh my gosh, I get it.
Yeah, and a lot of the, like there is so much rape culture too. Yeah. Like in the 80s, that is just like, it's just insane that was ever something to be thought to be funny or laugh about. Like it's just crazy now to see that and just be like, wow. Yeah. People really missed
Let's not go that. Admittedly, I'm not denying the culture, but I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far.
What?
Likening, and I may catch flack for this, but likening Peter Venkman, trying to cheat this test with this college girl to rape culture.
No, I'm not.
I wouldn't put those two together.
No, well, that's why I said, this movie was fairly tame for its time compared to a lot of the stuff that we were seeing. No, I wasn't really going that far with it. No, I was just saying, like, during that time, there was just a lot of crap in movies that, at the time people didn't really think twice about. But it's just like, this movie was tame compared to most stuff during that time.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything that they want to talk about that wasn't like they felt like just didn't fit in the movie or they just didn't care for? Really? I guess like some of the special effects, like I get it. It was the 80s. They didn't have a lot to work with, but like especially now, like the stop motion stuff it just doesn't work well anymore, or like, yeah, I don't know. I thought like the laser effects from the
proton.
Yeah. The proton guns worked really well. Like I thought it was done a lot better than some of the other movies from the time. And a lot of the effects were done well, but like the demon dogs were just like, they were so hard to watch, especially when like he ran out the hotel door and like jumped over the fence to chase him or whatever. It was like, it was just like this still it was basically just like a still shot, and they just like moved it across the screen and down. It was so bad.
Well, and when the one crashes into the wall at Lewis's house, I believe it is at his apartment, when he comes running out of the room and crashes into stuff. It's like that part was those were definitely a little bit harder. You know, they didn't quite hold up as well as the other stuff did.
So, but overall, I mean, I liked the movie, and now that we've been talking about it, I kind of like have grown on it a little bit. I think I just feel like there's so much cultural influence from this movie, and people just love this movie, that every time I go into something that I haven't seen before, I go in with like, I feel like I have to temper expectations because nostalgia plays such a big factor in movies like this. And I felt that a lot during this movie, but I also, it was like I had like mixed feelings watching it of like, okay, this feels like nostalgia, but it also feels like it was fun to watch, especially for the first time, because I had never been like spoiled on the movie either. You know, like I didn't know, Dana Barrett got possessed. I didn't know Rick Moranis ended up being possessed. Like I didn't know any of this. And like just seeing the movie kind of come together like that for the first time was kind of fun, you know. And I'm glad you guys made me watch it for this first episode.
It is kind of surprising that you didn't get a lot of it spoiled. For you.
I mean, there's there's like 80s cultural touchstone movies, like obviously Terminator. Like I've never seen any of the Terminator movies except for like the one bad one or two, whatever the fourth movie was. I was just like
Salvation.
I think so. The one that didn't have Arnold in it.
I didn't mind that one.
The one that didn't have Arnold in it, and like I was like, oh, this is cool, I guess, but like,
well, it technically had Arnold in it.
Well,
kind of.
Kind of. CG, wasn't it CG or something like that?
It was like a body double,
it was
and
a body double,
and they graphed his face over, one of those things. But like Terminator's been super spoiled right everywhere. Star Wars is just, like, you can't go anywhere with like, Luke, I am your father. Like you can't go anywhere without that. And it was just nice to watch a movie from essentially 40 years ago that like I haven't been spoiled on, that's so culturally significant to that time. So,
well,
go ahead.
One of the things I liked about the movie, and I was kind of mentioning it earlier, is that the mythology of it. I talked about this before, how I was a really big history kid and big into kind of ancient mythologies like ancient Egyptian, Greek mythology and stuff, and the fact that they actually went to a deep dive into Gozer being a old Mesopotamian and Sumerian god, back in the day, that he was worshipped as like a destructor. He was a destructor of worlds. He was almost like you basically worship this god so he wouldn't come and destroy your whole civilization, which that's what they painted him as. And that whole apartment, they actually went through a deep dive of how that whole apartment was actually built by an architect that worshipped Gozer as a god, and you built this apartment as like a temple for him. That's why the top of it was that's why the top of it was so elaborately done with like this big gate and all these gargoyle creatures that were at the top. So one of Gozer's names is Gozer the Traveler. So like he actually traveled from other different civilizations and basically assumed the same form. And technically Gozer's not a female. Gozer is just a force. And when Gozer would come to life, I guess, on land or whatever, Gozer would just take the form as whatever, and that's where the whole Stay Puft Marshmallow Man came into play. And Gozer just presented itself as like a female in front of them when she first presented itself. So that's where I took that deep dive to be like, like Gozer, I think in the movie has like 4 or 5 names, like Gozer the Traveler, Gozer the Gozerian, Gozer the Destructor, and then there were some other ones that were like really complicated names. But yeah, so technically Gozer's not even a female. Gozer's just like a force that just assumes a form whenever it comes down to Earth.
Yeah.
And in order for it to, you need the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper to kind of unlock the gate, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
and something really quick on the whole Gozer thing. So, kind of going back to like casting and stuff. So, Paul Rubin, or Pee Wee Herman, as you know him, was supposed to play the Gozer character.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, but then the Serbian actress that obviously, what is it?
Yugoslavian at the time.
Yeah.
Yugoslavian.
Slavitska
Waiting.
Jovan.
I'm waiting. How do you say that first name again?
Slavitska Jovan.
Slavica.
Oh, okay.
Slavica.
No, that's how they pronounced it in something that I watched. But yeah.
No, I know. Yeah. Every time I hear someone say Mila Jovovich, I cringe. Oh.
Yeah.
I do like the history aspect of it, though. I like when movies and even games do that, right? Like, I think that's what was so appealing about Assassin's Creed at the beginning, right? And not so much now, obviously, but like that first game was so, even the games that came after was so rooted in history, and even Assassin's Creed 3 was super interesting because, spoilers, I guess, for Assassin's Creed 3, but that whole character kind of revolves around like the unknown soldier, right? And it was just it's really cool to see them take something like that and implement it into the story, because like you don't see that much anymore, right? Like, what everybody that just thinks of history now, they're like, oh, Thor's part of the Avengers, he's part of Norse mythology, that's neat,
Yeah.
It's just like, oh.
Right. And not only that, but Stoy, like the fact that it's I would say uncommon or less popular mythology, like that, I really appreciate it. There's a game that I wrote a review on called Roki, and it goes into Scandinavian mythology, which
that's on my list to play, actually. Once I heard about it, I think from your review, and then I took a deep dive, and yeah, it's
amazing. So, but just like, I'm not trying to go too off topic, but there's a deep appreciation, not just for putting in something cultural in there, but especially an uncommon one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, like for me, like, as a kid, like you're afraid of the dark. Most kids I feel like are afraid of the dark at a certain age until they get, a little bit older or whatever. And some people still are afraid of the dark. But like, I think the whole thing with this movie too is it kind of, like their whole slogan is I ain't afraid of no ghosts. And, like it empowers, you to kind of like look at it as, like we really you don't need to be afraid of ghosts. And like, just as a kid, just the idea of just having this cool, like, because I've always just been a tech kid. So like having this cool thing that can, like catch ghosts and like, I think that's really, it caught on so much, I think, just from a tech point, even of just having these such cool, stuff that they used, and just, like envisioning yourself being able to be one of these Ghostbusters and stuff like that. Like, I still to this day, I don't own any of the like replica stuff, but someday I want to own an actual like replica, but they're so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
build your own. One of my friends built his own.
Yeah,
proton pack.
I've thought about doing that, but yeah,
nice.
I've even thought though, like it would be kind of cool to make my own, like put my own flair on it, my own personality into like some of the stuff, and just kind of make my own, different one. But But yeah, it's there. I think for me, like just as a kid, like the tech and all that stuff was just so cool, and
Well, it
like,
was all
just sucked
rooted
me.
in reality. Like they actually
Yeah.
provided. I mean, if you, as a kid, you kind of glossed over a lot of that conversation, but they explained a lot of it. Like analyzing the slime and the goo that the ghosts would leave behind, and then reverse engineering it to say, here's how we can contain them, here's how we can trap them, so to speak, and here's how we can kind of do this reverse polarization or whatever they talked about. But like, there wasn't just like, oh, we just build a bunch of lasers that just shoot ghosts,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, do we have anything else we want to say about Ghostbusters before we wrap the episode? I thought this was a pretty good first try at this new standard definition. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I got to talk about it with, fans of the movie,
Yeah, I'm curious what you think of the second one when we eventually do that.
Yeah, I mean, I want to do the second one sooner than later, I think,
Yeah.
It's not, it may not hit the same, but I appreciated it for what it was.
Yeah, see, I like it a lot. I know that like a lot of people, even in the Ghostbuster community, like most people like it, but they don't love it as much as the first one.
Yeah.
But I like the little bit deeper dive into like a mythology kind of, or not mythology, but the character and stuff that is kind of the main bad in that one, and like his powers and how everything kind of happens in that movie, I think is really interesting and cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really appreciate, you having this as like one of the first movies to cover, because it was iconic in the 80s. There was a reboot that's more recent, so people can listen to this and learn about the original if they haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a wide range of people. We have crazy fans and someone who's never seen it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do want to do all 4 of the movies at least at some point, like probably within the next month or so. We'll record that, or next 6 weeks or so. I mean, what I want to do is like kind of talk about each of the movies, especially like I know the all female Ghostbusters movie got kind of a bad rap, but I as somebody who's never seen any of them and really wants to see them with fresh eyes, like I'm really excited to do the rest of the series. I really am. Like after this first one and talking to you guys about it, like I'm really excited to go in and like talk about the rest of Ghostbusters, because as somebody who's always seen it from afar, I was always wondering, because like I didn't even know the cartoon existed until a couple years ago, Jesse, when you mentioned it on Arsenal X at one point, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know there was a cartoon.
Yeah. And then the second cartoon, which is like, in my opinion, is super amazing, that I kind of always wanted a movie to be based off of, the Extreme Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Because that's when they kind of switch over to a new cast, and that's, I think, kind of like what this new movie ends up being. But yeah, I mean, I think they did a good job of it. But yeah, there's so much stuff out there, like, yeah, and that I'm sure a lot of people have never watched or seen.
Yeah,
because the real Ghostbusters, a lot of people know that one because it was so close to the movies. But yeah, in the late 90s, early 2000s, I believe, is when that Extreme Ghostbusters came out.
Yeah,
that cartoon.
Yeah, so yeah, we are planning on doing the rest of Ghostbusters. Mark and I are planning like a big MCU rewatch, so you can expect that from this show also. And just a bunch of random, kind of nostalgic topics. Maybe Stephanie will lead some. It's not always going to be me hosting, but especially like the upcoming Disney stuff, right? I think that would be really cool if, Stephanie, since that was your idea, maybe you could host that. I think that would be neat because,
Yeah, when I'm not
On
on
the spot.
Sudafed, I'll definitely.
On the spot.
Stoy, if you have a topic that you want to talk about, like the show's going to have a lot of interchangeable parts, So just so you expect that moving forward. I want to thank everybody for listening or watching this first episode of Standard Definition. You can find it on Sunday mornings on your podcast service of choice. If you want it 2 weeks early, you can go to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. You can also submit topics of your own and vote on them, which would be great.
Yeah, any suggested movies, definitely send them our way.
Yeah, movies, games, TV shows, toys, whatever. Send them.
Toys.
I want to thank you guys for joining me on this. Wow. Anyways, on that note,
Jesse's playing with toys in the background. For any
exactly.
Audio section. The audio
We're a
episodes.
very professional podcast.
yes.
It's the PKE meter, bro.
Yeah,
Wow.
from the new movie.
Yeah.
I thank you guys for your time tonight. I know it's, as of this recording, it's the day after Christmas, and Stephanie, I know you're not feeling great, so appreciate your guys' time. Stoy, where can we find you?
You can follow me on the EXP Cast. We're also a video game podcast, part of the Boss Rush Network. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram there. And Stoy, MKE8 on Twitter.
Cool. Stephanie?
You can find me on Twitter at Klimov, KLIMOV_author. I'm also a co-host of the Boss Rush podcast, and you can find my articles on bossrush.net.
Cool. Jesse?
You can find me almost everywhere as Phantom NXS.
And you can find me at IamCorianHD on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me hosting the Boss Rush podcast. You can find a plethora of shows on the Boss Rush Network, including, like Stoy said, the EXP Cast. You can find Nintendo Power Block, Arsenal X, which Jesse and Stoy and I are all a part of, Crossroads, PlayStation Podcast, anything you would like. Also check out our other Patreon early access shows, including Boss Rush After Dark. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. Like, subscribe, share, rate, and review wherever you listen. And we will see you next time on Standard Definition. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Doing the Ghostbusters pose. Can you see it?